This tax bill that just got passed by the Senate is not the law of the land. It is first important for people to realize that I think the news media is doing a very huge disservice in making people believe that this tax bill is a foregone conclusion. The tax bill is not a foregone conclusion. The tax scam, the tax cut scam is not done. They have to get the Congress, the House, and the Senate to come together, and there are some huge disparities between the two bills. So let's know that we still have a whole lot of fighting to do to ensure that the tax cut scam does not go through. But let me tell you what my real concern is. I write several articles a day on some of these issues that are occurring, several articles. Unfortunately, when I write about the tax scam, we don't get the kind of viewership, we don't get the kind of shares, we don't get the kind of likes, we don't get the kind of people, the amount of people reading these particular articles that are commensurate with what it means when, if and when this bill passes. Let me tell you what's very concerning to me. Teachers. There are thousands of teachers in this country. I think maybe over 1 million teachers in this country. I don't know what the number is, but I know that they represent a significant portion of our educational system, of our voting population. I know they make a whole lot of people up. And yet, this bill, these guys had the gall within this bill. The red states are cutting education, as you all know. But at the same time, this bill that was put together by Republicans, the same type of Republicans who in the states are cutting education budgets, they're now telling teachers, hey, teachers, you can no longer deduct the monies that you spend out of your own pocket to help your children, to help the children further. So here they're hitting you twice. The states are cutting the budgets of, the states are cutting the education budgets, elementary schools, high schools, universities, colleges. And at the same time, they're also telling teachers in the new tax scam, the new tax cut scam that the Republicans are running, that somehow you cannot any longer deduct the amount of money you spend, the teachers spend out of pocket. Where is the teacher revolt? Where are all the teachers learning about these articles that we put out? Now, I wrote an article off of Saturday Night Live last night. I wanted to do a test, okay? The test was just the Saturday Night, Michael Shea made a joke about Donald Trump. That article went viral. But here's the problem with that article. It's an empty article. It has very little to do with the outcome or the immediate economy of people. I could write those articles in 10 minutes every day. No research, nothing. And yet, it went viral. I write an article specific to how the bill affects teachers, how the bill affects those that are sick, those that are ill, and it gets little traction. And yet, that is what affects people. That is what's going to make them poor. That is what's going to hurt your kids. Look, what the Republican politicians and many of the establishment Democrats are doing in Washington is wrong, and it is bad. It is evil. It hurts you personally. But more than that, what hurts us all is ourselves. So what I want to ask people is help your neighbors. The fact that you're watching me here means that you care about what's happening. So this message is not really for you, right? I mean, this admonition is not really for you. This is for you to go out there and try to talk to those who are not cognizant of what's going on. Those who need somebody to tell them you can actually make a difference. And you don't just only have to be entertained. I can entertain you all day with a whole lot of fictional stories, with a whole lot of gotcha stories, and a whole lot of stories that, make you laugh. and feel good for the 10, 20, 30 seconds that you're going to read some funny line in it. But the reality is, guess who knows that as well? Republicans know that as well. Those guys writing those laws know that as well. They know you're going to be taken up about this sex affair. They know you're going to be taken up with that congressman who was caught with his stuff on a picture. They know that you love that. Hey, I get a lot of kicks out of watching those things as well. But we also have to be serious about the things that are occurring, that are going to affect us materially, that is going to affect our kids materially. And for those of you who are watching this, you guys know it already, but please, you have to not only share these articles and share these videos or whatever, you have to share them with your narrative, with your context, and tell people why it is necessary for them to go ahead and not just say, oh, Amy shared this stuff. Oh, that's cute. That's not enough. Amy has to share something and say, hey guys, I need you not only to see this title, not only to see the little topic or the little lead, I need you to go there, read it, and see what these folks are doing to us. Because the reason it has occurred is that we have allowed it to occur. We have allowed them because of many of us, and I don't say this to be demeaning, but the shallowness of many of us are allowing these guys to screw us. And the activists that are running around, we run around with Indivisible. We run around with Our Revolution. We run around with Swing Left. We run around with all these organizations, and we're a committed bunch. We want to make a change. A lot of us have given up a whole lot of stuff to actually be a part of the change. But we actually need people who, even if you can't be out there in the front lines, even if you can't be out there saying, hey, I am going to be out there at the march in front of Ted Cruz's office. I'm going to be out there in front of City Hall. I'm going to be out there in front of the federal building. I'm going to be doing those things. There's a place for that. But not only that, there's a hell of a lot more to do. In that article that I have out there, I have the link to where you can find who you need to call as well. We need everything. We need to fight it like we fight a virus. The only reason the AIDS virus was placed under control is because we were able to use medicines that attacked it from every direction. That's what we have to consider politicians, viruses. And to get them to do what we want them to do, we have to go ahead and fight them at every angle. We fight them over the phones. We fight them on the fax. We fight them on the text. We fight them in the streets. We go to Washington. Some of us go to Washington several times a year to get some stuff done. But unless we have you, unless you are also engaged, and when I say you, I'm talking through you, because the same thing that I'm doing here, the same thing all these activists are doing, like we had our big candidate forum yesterday and other things, the same thing these candidates, these activists are doing. We need to multiply ourselves and have you do the same thing as well. So folks, when you see an article that is substantive, even if it's not flashy, even if it doesn't have the sex toys in it, even if it doesn't have all the affairs in it, please share them. But don't only share it. Share it is so easy. Click and it's shared. But that's not what we want. That's not enough. When you share something that you found was informative, a simple share is not enough. You need a share with a lead. A lead means I share it and I tell the friends that are in my sphere of influence, those friends that matter to me, those friends that believe me, meaning you, those friends that you have, they believe you more than they believe me. Your friends, when you share to your friends, you tell them why you want them to go out there and read these things. You tell them why it is important for them to do it, because they're not going to just listen to the headpiece. They're going to listen to the person that they're closest to, and that is you. So activism isn't about that activist that's out there doing something. Activism is about all of us becoming activists, because what these guys are doing to the country right now is real. I got a daughter in medical school, and I sit down and wonder what's going to become of her because of all the crap that these guys are doing in Washington. We need everybody to be on board because these guys are evil. These guys are there for a very small amount of people who don't care that they're destroying the country. And the reason they don't care that they're destroying the country is that they know we are just a commodity for them. We are just an income source for them. And if when we run out, as we are right now, as a large percentage of Americans are running out right now, when we are done, they just go to the next market. And you know, Americans have a tendency to think they're number one, and to think we are God gifts to the world, and to think that all of, you know, who the capitalists in this country are God's gifts to the world. And they're the ones that move around the world and make the money and make the income and get things done because they're the movers of capital. But the peons in this country, which comprises the majority of people in this country, the peons in this country, we are the ones that are nothing more than a commodity. And when they've done extracting all from us, they just go to the next market. And there are a lot of markets. When you hear about forming markets or ascending markets, China as an ascending market. Look, China has 1 billion people, with over half of them in poverty, in abject poverty. But the amount of them that are making money and that are surpassing Americans by the mere size of that country surpasses America's entire amount of folk. We're only 330 million people. They probably have over 330 million people in the middle class right now. We don't have 330 million people in the middle class at all. So where do you think is going to be a bigger market going forward? And do you think when they get all these tax breaks and when they get all this money back, that $1 trillion, do you think it makes sense for them to invest it in America? Hell no. I'm going to give a quick economic lesson. And I always talk about it. Marginal propensity to consume. What that means is if I give $1 to a poor person, that poor person spends it. If I give $1 to a rich person, that rich person saves it and puts it the best place that they can maximize it. And in the case of a rich person today, it is overseas. It's not in America. So when they repatriate that money, they repatriate it to get it without paying taxes, and then they can go invest it somewhere else. Folks, we have to do better. We have to use our heads. They're not smarter than us. It's just that they've created the system. They are not smarter than any of you, but we have allowed them to rule. We have allowed them to take us for granted. We have allowed them to screw us. And the only way we can stop that is coming together. Forget about all the petty crap that we have, the little fights we have in between. You know why I don't fight with anybody? You notice from my radio show to everything, why I give everybody equal time. I give everybody the opportunities, because I am not going to fight my fellow American middle classer, my fellow American poor person, my fellow American upper middle class or whatever. I have no bones with them. The truth of the matter is, in this country, they're powerless. The upper middle class people are nothing more than the slaves of the top 1%. And they're the ones guarding the doors that they're the ones that are frantically guarding the doors. That's all they are. You know, in the old slavery days, you know what you call those slaves who were out there whipping the other slaves. The thing about it, folks, is that we have a new slavery. And the new slavery is not race-based. It's a new slavery. And one of the problems with America as a whole is it's hard to realize that all of us are in the same boat, that all of us are really slaves to a system. It's hard because there was a time the majority population could look down at somebody and say, well, at least I am not like them. So that gives you something that you could hold on to. But you know what? You ain't got it anymore. Because what we realize is what many of us have always known, that racial thing is only a social construct made to keep a very select few in power. And since they've extracted just about all from the aggregate of the others, guess who they have to come for now? You. And when they're coming for you, They have to make you believe it's the fault of the others. And when they believe it's the fault of the others, they can last a little bit longer. But when you realize that they've also gotten you, that's when we come together, folk. So I'm trying to tell you guys, let's get serious now. Those 2 articles that I wrote today, the first one that went viral, to put it bluntly, it's not an article that I'm proud of because it was just there as an experiment. And the one that didn't do much was the one with all the meat, the one that had a marching order, the one that said, this is something that we need to do. It is on you. Those of you that the number of you that listen the number of you that listen, you have to multiply yourself. You have to make the change. Don't be sitting down there waiting on some savior or somebody that's going to do it for you. Every single one of us have to be an individual activist. Every single one of us have to do our part. Every single one of us. And it goes in every domain. The social media domain, the going outside on your feet domain, the making the telephone calls, even to your friends domain, the ones going to the coffee shop and addressing that Trumpster that deep down, there's no reason for you not to like him. You know, I mean, I'm in Kingwood, folks. Everybody I talk to in Starbucks is a Trumpster. But you know what? We talk. And we get through. And some of them actually make the transition. It's hard as hell, one at a time. But if it's hundreds of thousands and millions of us doing it one at a time, we make the change. A governing majority isn't 50+1. A governing majority is all but the plutocracy. And that is something we better start remembering. So folks, I intended this to be a short video and you got me on my soapbox. But look, thank you so kindly for listening. I didn't get a chance to take a look at all the messages here. I promise you, I will answer them if there are any questions in there. But one begging ask that I have is that you share these videos. One begging ask that I have is when you see an article, whether it's my article or the article from somebody else, that has the substance of something that we need to go out there and do, please share it, and not just share it, but share it with a narrative. Share it with your narrative, because your people, the people that follow you, they know you better than they know me. They know you better than they know anybody else that you're sharing. And they will listen to that lead that you provide. Hey, look at what Politics Done Right has to say. This is important. Check it out. Give them a reason to not just pass it along. Give them a reason to educate themselves, like we all try to educate ourselves, so that they don't screw us over. So folks, buenas noches, tenga buen día. Y'all have a great night. And I'm going to be checking out again. Let's do our part. Have a great one.